I am living proof that if you have a dream in your life, you can obtain that dream in whatever way that looks for you. I had a successful military career of 25 years. I'm coming up on 20 years doing TV stuff, which is crazy. It'll be 2026, it'll be 20 years. I've been successful with my own business on the side, teaching survival and doing these other things.
Welcome to the Midland Money Mindset. This is a podcast that's all about getting your mind right when it comes to all things money. In every episode, we go deep with engaging guests who provide tangible takeaways and a whole lot of joy along the way. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I enjoyed having them. Let's dive into today's show. I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Midland Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Midland Financial. Today's guest is EJ Snyder, extreme survivalist, adventurer, and 25-year Army combat vet. EJ is most known as a survivalist and TV host on Discovery Channel, most notably for his 6 legendary successful challenges on the hit TV series Naked and Afraid, surviving with 206 days and no taps. In addition, EJ has been recognized for hosting dual survival and mountain masters. And if this was not enough, he also offers survival classes, gear, digital training, motivational speaking, and consulting services too. Let's not forget to mention he's a published author as well. Before all this, EJ was in the U.S. Army and is a highly decorated Army combat veteran with 25 years of military service under his belt, serving ranger positions in infantry and airborne units. He moved up the ranks quickly, seeing combat in the Gulf War and Operation Iraqi Freedom II. EJ earned 2 Bronze Star medals, the Legion of Merit, and the Order of St. Maurice, and over 40 other medals and decorations while serving our nation. We would like to wish him a hearty thank you for his service. Listen in for some great takeaways about EJ's journey from being a highly decorated Army combat vet to one of the most well-known survivalists today. Well, I have the pleasure today of being with EJ Snyder, extreme survivalist, adventurer, and most importantly, and greatly appreciated by us, 25-year Army combat vet. Welcome to the show, EJ.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And serving's my honor to have done. Went in the Army when I was 19 years old, tried to figure out what I was going to be when I grew up. For me, I had aspirations of being on TV. Mom thought it was a bad idea. So I went in the Army, always wanted to serve, and did 25 years proudly and would do it all over again for you guys.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And I know that I speak on behalf of our listeners. They appreciate it as well. So I want to spend a lot of time today on your adventure, your extreme survivalist. What led you up to kind of doing all this crazy stuff? Well, crazy to me, but probably very enjoyable to you. But what was the path to kind of getting involved with that type of events in your life?
Well, early on in my early ages as a kid, my dad and mom divorced rather young. So when we saw my dad on the weekends, me and my kid brother, he'd take us out fishing and hunting. We were always outside, camping, canoeing, and I fell in love with outdoors big time. When I was around my dad, I went into scouting to try and get back outside and be around as much as I could. Me and my kid brother were just outside all the time, trying to just understand nature, playing with wildlife that we probably shouldn't have been messing with. And then I went in the Army, and I was an infantryman, was a ranger, and I really loved being outside, learning those things. But while I was in ranger school, I got exposed to my first real formal survival skills, so to speak, and I absolutely wanted to know more about it. And then as I was a ranger instructor, they sent me off to the Army's survival school to learn how to survive behind enemy lines, which included wilderness survival, which I just gravitated to so quickly. It became a passion of mine, and I really just wanted to be the best survivalist I could be. It was getting towards Y2K. Oh, man, maybe the end of the world's coming. I just wanted to be the best survivalist I could to take care of myself and my loved ones. And I just kept practicing it. So as I got ready to get out of the Army, I actually started dabbling in TV a little bit before I retired. I was in Hawaii, and it was kind of easy to do on the side as a kind of a hobby. And I was like, wow, now I'm really going to put myself on TV because I wanted to be on TV when I was 19. My mom
Right.
said that was a dumb idea. So here it's full circle. And long story short, I started messing around in TV. I was a big fan of Survivor. So I had applied to Survivor like 15 times. And so my name was floating around the casting world quite a bit. And I was actually working my first 4 years out of the Army as a survival instructor for the Special Warfare Center at Fort Bragg. And while I was there, I was doing small shows on the side for TV, and Discovery Channel found me and they recruited me for a show, Dual Survival. So I went and tried out. I was going up against 4 other guys. I wound up coming in second place. They picked Joe Teddy up and they said, EJ, we really like you. So we got something for you, we think, down the road. So I said, yeah, I heard that before. About 6 months later, they called me up and they said, hey, we got this very extreme survival show. We think you're perfect for it. You can come out here, and since you got a little background in TV, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, you can help us build this pilot episode. You can advise and produce in the field. And so next thing I know, I find myself buck naked in the middle of Africa with a strange woman I don't even know. One tool each, a knife and a pot was our choice tools. And we were safaring in Africa for 21 days without a stitch of clothing, no supplies, no help. And we had to survive 21 days. And so I was the first one ever to do it exactly 11 years ago. As of this podcast, I was extracting, and it was quite an honor. I'd never been to Africa before. It tested me to the limits of my ability, and I got addicted to it, obviously. So
Amazing. Well, at least thank God you survived Y2K. So that was a big win under your belt right then and there. But
yeah, natural survivor.
yeah, besides surviving that, I mean, was your appearance on Naked and Afraid, was that practically speaking the first time that you actually had to put those survival skills to work rather than learning what you learned in the classroom? Was that your first real experience doing that?
And as you mentioned that, I think back on those things. And I mean, I've had little events over my life that you could consider survival, a challenge that popped up, getting lost in the woods and figuring a way out of it, even as a young kid. But to really put those skills to the test and show everybody what I'm teaching you really works, that was really my first opportunity to do that. I mean, I've been teaching this stuff for a long time and would go out and test myself alone, but not with that a little bit of a safety net of a film crew to really go that extreme. And so, yeah, that was probably the first time I really got to be in a situation where it was pretty dire.
That's amazing. I mentioned to you before we started recording, my wife watches the show often. I think both of us have probably so many questions regarding the show. But if you had to say, what is one thing you wish the audience knew about the show that maybe is not really common knowledge about the show?
A lot of times I would say a couple things. One, a lot of people always say, oh, it's scripted, it's produced, it's this, it's that. Naked and Afraid and Alone, in terms of real survival shows, are probably the most realistic challenge out there that's not scripted. Maybe there's some events where you got to get 2 people into the scenario and you got to get them to meet and then you're getting them out of there, that maybe there's a little bit more production involvement. But once you're in the box, so to speak, you're in it. And the thing I would love is that the audience could actually be in that camp with us for 24/7. Because in a 21-day challenge, for instance, and we have longer ones called XLs, you're going to be there and we're getting filmed for 509 hours. You're only getting 43 minutes of a snapshot of what really happened. And so you hear it all the time. Oh, you didn't eat very much. You didn't do very well. You didn't do that. You didn't do this. You hear the whole chatter out there on the internet. And it can get a little frustrating because you're signing an NDA. You can only say so much. And are we eating like we would at home? Most of the time, not really, unless you're with Matt Wright, who's a really good hunter. So you're eating better than normal. You do get some meals. You see me catch a fish, and they're like, oh, you only ate 1 fish. It's like, well, I think production thinks the audience is smart enough to realize we're probably catching more than just 1 fish over the time. But unfortunately, some people believe what they see on TV, that's it, and that's what it is. And for me, I would love for the audience to really come for a full ride with us. I wish there was a way they could.
Uncut version. The uncut
Yeah, like
version.
Big Brother does. They do that 24-hour live thing. That would be interesting, I think. But yeah, for the audience to understand that it's very real. You really put yourself in harm's way out there, and you really put your body through a lot.
Yeah. And while you're out there, I mean, are you aware that the crew is around you, or are you so laser focused on survival that it's almost like out of sight, out of mind kind of?
I don't ever worry about the camera crew. They're there. We have cameras set up in the camp. Maybe your first time out there, you're more aware of them than others. But the job I had prior to going out there, I was always around cameras. So it just didn't really, we filmed everything. So it wasn't like, eh. And I know the camera crew's there and I have good camera awareness, but I'm doing what I got to do. And a lot of people go out there and they worry about the edit. Oh my God, my edit, especially people that have been on a few times. And I'm like, I don't worry about the edit. The TV just happens around me. I'm out here to survive and do a job. And so I just let the TV happen. And I feel bad for the camera crews after a while because they're the ones having to look at us naked.
Yeah.
For me, it's just another day. What's great about it is they want to make good TV, so they never get in the way. They understand the filming of it because most of the camera guys and audio guys, and even the producers we've had around for years, they're just as much an adrenaline junkie as us, and they want to get out there and catch those shots, and they put themselves in a little bit of danger. I remember having a guy filming me, and I got worried about him. I was like, hey, you're about to step on a snake.
Right.
Stop.
Give him a heads up.
Inside little story for you.
I mean, based upon your learning and the trainings that you've been through, right? Is it a huge benefit to being out there with somebody else? Is that not even from the strength and that piece, but just the social aspect of having somebody around with you? I would imagine that's a huge morale and just boost to creating your ability to survive over being just completely alone by yourself, no?
Now, I can sum that up. There's two foods of thought on that. I've done a total of 39 days, I believe, alone on the show at different periods. One of the episodes I did was a 3-week episode in the Balkan Mountains of Bulgaria, and it was called Naked Afraid Alone before they called it Solo. What I'll say to that is, one, I'm very good at being alone. I'm very good with myself. Being in solitude, I find it very rewarding, very liberating at times. But there's a lot of benefit to having a partner too, someone to cut the work with, equal shared duties, help keep the fire going. When it's all on you by yourself, there's a lot of work. And so there's benefits to both, I feel. But the companionship part is a real big one, someone to talk to. And that this is where I learned it most. At the end of my alone episode, they're like, how did it feel being alone and being out there by yourself? I was like, it was no big deal. I mean, I did my thing. I was entertaining myself. And then they came in and like, well, you did a great job. Congratulations. We'll leave you with your food. And they closed my room door. And when that door shut, it was so loud and ringing in my ears. It was the most alone I felt the entire 21 days I've been out there, because now on other challenges, I had someone else that understood the suffering we went through, someone I could share that with and share in the pain and the joy and have that memory together. I didn't have anybody to share my story with. And now I got to eat all this food by myself. I felt the most alone in my life I ever did was in that one moment. So there's a lot of give and take on both, but you're right. Having someone to talk to makes the nights when they're cold and you're sitting in the fire or you're getting rained on, that makes it a little better.
Great perspective. Great perspective. So what fueled your interest? Because I know you're really interested in strength training and self-defense. I know those are two passions of yours. What kind of fueled that for you?
That thing was actually childhood bullying and getting picked last for sports, and then you get made fun of. So we were very poor. My mother was working like 3 jobs to keep me and my kid brother just in the house and fed. So I'd wind up with patches on my pants. And you go to school in the 3rd grade or 4th grade with patches, man, that's not good. And I was very awkward as a kid. So sports like swinging a bat and that kind of stuff wasn't very easy for me. So I would get picked last. That never felt good. And then I had some kids actually targeted me. And it wasn't just one bully. It was like 6 of them in a group. I didn't like that. I didn't have the self-confidence to stand up for myself. One thing I did really well was I was very fast, very super fast. So I used my legs to get better at certain sports so I wouldn't get picked last, like soccer and kickball. And then I caveated that into learning every sport on the planet, not to be excellent at any of them, but just to be good enough not to get picked last. And I became a very good athlete. And then I noticed I was becoming more muscular and stronger. And then I learned wrestling in school, and that was really starting to build some confidence in me. And I went and learned boxing from my stepdad. I started learning how to box. And then my friends would come back after going to Taekwondo, or they'd take Aikido or Jiu-Jitsu or Judo. And I didn't have money to pay for that stuff. I'd tell them, hey, teach me what you learned today. And I would learn that skill and wrestle with them. And so I kept learning these different combative things, and I really got some self-confidence in me. And then I went to my mom. I'm like, Mom, for 7 months, I've been getting picked on here by these kids. And this girl's actually physically assaulting me in the school bus. And she's like, look, no one should hit you. If somebody touches you first, you have the right to defend yourself, and I will support you no matter what the consequences. And that was like the Rocky song echoed in my head. And I was like, yeah. And I went to school the next day, and I didn't go there looking for the fight. But when the fight came, I was ready. And I don't condone fighting, violence. Use your mouth, use your words. And so I can say in my life, outside of the ring and combat, I haven't thrown any first punches, but I've thrown a lot of last punches.
Right.
Understanding how to stand up for myself and defend myself, all that stopped because they saw a lion emerge, and nobody wants to mess with a lion. So that really carried on into my later years, took it into the military. It became a sport I loved, and I became an amazing athlete and combatant.
Yeah, it's a shame with bullying. I mean, years ago, like when you were going through it, it happened a lot of times face to face. Now it happens through social media and the internet, which is even worse because everybody's a tough guy or tough gal or tough person behind a keyboard when nobody knows who they are.
It's sad these days. I'm glad my kids got out of high school before social media really got crazy, because I can't imagine what the kids got to go through these days with social media. And then I even get it, even now. At 6'3", 250 pounds, like you said, the keyboard warrior, the troll who has a faceless avatar and a fictitious name. And I tell him, look, you say that comment, would you say that to my face? You probably shouldn't say it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad out there.
We're taking a quick detour from the amazing show today to bring you the Joy and Productivity Journal. Finding a balance between productivity and joy can feel like an impossible task. But fear not. This journal, inspired by themes in my best-selling book, Financial Planning Made Personal, is here to revolutionize the way you approach your daily routine. And because we believe in letting you experience the joy firsthand, you can download this journal for free at financialplanningmadepersonal.com. Before we return to the show, I have a question for you. What did you do today that brought you joy? I'm with you. Listen, as you see above my head right here, that is a menorah. I'm Jewish.
Yes.
For Hanukkah, and it's a Jonah the Whale, which I happen to have gotten in South Africa while I was there. It was a souvenir I got, and somebody saw me on a media appearance on a news channel with that over my head, and they started writing some not so nice comments on Twitter. I said, hey, why don't you come pay us a visit? I'd be happy to talk to you about this. But these keyboard warriors, as you say, they're tough behind the keyboard, but not face to face. So good for you.
It's all the time, like you say. Some of my best friends I've met actually was through dialogue on here, on our social medias. And I get them over on Messenger and we have a discussion. And then we wind up becoming like the closest friend,
right.
Which is crazy.
There you go. There you go. So again, thank you for your service. As a 25-year retired Army combat vet, I believe you were awarded with 2 Bronze Stars, right? What did your time in the military, what did that teach you? What was your takeaway there?
A lot of resiliency, a lot of patience, and understanding, like, and leadership. I mean, I've always been a natural leader. And when I went in there, it fine-tuned those skills, being with all different walks of life, people from all kinds of different backgrounds. I led with passion. I led with my heart. I wore everything on my sleeve. When I was upset, you knew it. When I was excited for you, you knew it. And I led from the front and by example. And I wanted to be the best warrior and leader for those I led to make sure everyone made it home. And it really taught me to be resilient in tough times, that they're not going to last. And then to always remember there's always one more thing you can do in a bad situation, whether you're dealing with a soldier having a marital issue or he's having a financial situation going on, or you're in battle and things look grim, that if you put your faith in whoever your God is and you pray and you just know and have that confidence in yourself that In every bad situation, something or someone has to rise to the top to take control of it. So I learned, like I said, resiliency, mental toughness, patience, and how to be a critical leader when the chips are really down.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. And that all probably helped you well, I would say definitely helped you in your survival skills and your adventure skills as well, for sure.
Yeah.
I've often said that the entrepreneurial path that someone takes is fascinating. I think it's incredibly fascinating how people end up doing what they do, end up where they are. In my research, I learned that there's a blade community, right? How did you turn your passion for knives into a venture? How did that happen?
I've always been a knife nut, I guess, for lack of a better word, since I was a kid. In my family, when your dad hands you that folding buck knife, that hunting knife, it's like you made it. All right, you're one of the boys, you're a man now. And I still have that knife to this day, even with the tip broken off of it. I've always kept that knife for that symbolism of I just loved knives. I found them a very useful tool. I used them throughout hunting in my life, my outdoors, in the military. So when I was in Africa, my knife broke and I was like, this is no good. I was beating this knife if it's on me outside the specs. But if I'm in a survival situation, I can't have my knife breaking. And so I went on this quest. I'm going to find the one tool option. The unicorn, they say, doesn't exist. A one tool option for every situation that I would be in a survival situation. If I'm in combat to fight with, I found a lot of great ones, but it didn't exist. And so I found a company and I carried this one knife for a long time. And while I was at the Blade Show with my friend Todd Hunt, he had this thing called an M18, kind of like a crazy meat cleaver. He was a Christian man. He didn't want to see his tools used towards violence. But I was like, dude, some days you have to stand up against evil. You have to have the tool. And I had a design he didn't want to do. And I found somebody in Tops Knives that really believed in me. They were former soldiers and they were like, hey, we want to do a knife with you. And I was like, okay, great. Here. And I pulled a napkin out and I drew this thing out and I gave it to him. He's like, well, let me see if my master knife guy can do this. He's like, yeah, I think I could do that. And they built this knife for me called the SXB, the Skull Crusher Extreme Blade, which was a throwback to a modern day Bowie knife. Ever since then, I've been in the knife community since probably 2013 officially. I go to these blade shows in Atlanta, Georgia. They have one right now going on, or just went on in Texas, and they got one out west. And it's the largest knife shows in the world. And all these Vikings come together and we brotherhood. We show each other our knives. And I find knives more interesting than guns because I'm a military guy. I've got guns, but a lot of my buddies they're gun guys. They love guns. And I'm like, I find knives more interesting because there's an art to making them, an art to using them. I tested knives for Blade Magazine and Knives Magazine for years, did them on my YouTube channel, and I just found knives so fascinating. That's where my passion for knives came in. I've designed 3 knives now, 2 with Tops, 1 with Stroop knives. They're all great. The Mountain Predator I designed with Stroop knives. It's a crazy looking Bowie knife. Knives was a love and a passion, and I love that community.
It seems like a lot of the things you do come out of a lot of those personal passions that you had as a kid. And you've just kind of, as you've aged, you've taken them to a new level and greater heights as a result.
Where do you see my pickle company we're working on?
Pickle company. All right. Was that your main food that you liked as a kid? Or
as a snack and a kid, you're growing up in Jersey, you go to the deli, you stick your hand in there, you get the big pickle out, and probably couldn't do it these days, but those dill pickles from the deli fascinated me. And I had an Air Force buddy, and we used to talk about pickles. Hey, what'd you try? Oh, I tried this one. And he had his grandmother's secret recipe that he used to talk about. And he wrestled that recipe that was on a napkin. Here we go, napkin again, under lock and key. And he got it from me, made this pickles for me. He says, dude, we could sell these. These are so good. And we developed a business plan. We're just waiting on funding now. We got to find some funders, but we have a Freedom Pickles and we're ready to go. Nice. We have a great marketing campaign, but this pickle is literally the best on the planet against every other pickle I've ever tasted. That's just one of about 9 businesses I'm getting ready to launch this year. So you talk about entrepreneur.
We'll be keeping our eyes out for this one for sure. So I wanted to ask you about this because I think that this is something that entrepreneurs have to deal with or think about all the time, right? You had your website hacked a few months ago, right?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. For listeners who can't see and are just listening and shaking his head, it's a big distraction. It's a big issue. It's painful. What advice do you have for other entrepreneurs to either prevent or kind of put themselves in a position so they don't have to endure that kind of pain that you went through?
Invest the right money into the right people. It's about the money. I started off with a Wix website that I was doing myself, pecking away, and I built it. Then I had a fan who was a huge fan who was a webmaster. He said, I can help you out. I want to do it so I can have your name as a resume bullet and help you out. And I moved to that guy. And as I was growing, I was getting more and more notoriety and haters and everything else. I finally paid for a good website, wanted to expand my brand, wanted to start selling gear off my website. My other guy, he just couldn't handle it. And we moved to a new website. And then I went on a TV show, did a news piece on Fox News, and it came out of the woodwork, and they just came after me. And they just flagged me as this guy who they had to come after, who's this survival army guy. He's got to be no good. We're going to take him down. And this was the second time I've been hacked. But I would tell you, invest in a good server and good security software. Be suspect about everything. Every email that comes in, everyone that sends you a message on social media, they don't all have the best of intentions. So do your due diligence. There's a lot of scammers out there right now doing these podcast scams. So they try to get you in. We're going to pay for you to come be a guest. I'm representing Robbie Madison podcast. And so come on in here and we'll get you on the show and see what we're talking about here. They'll scam people to share their screens with them on a Zoom call. And then next thing you know, they're off screen somebody and they're stealing your stuff. And they sell it. I had my social medias hacked 6 months later after the website attack. And they went in there and snatched it up. I found the guy, and he was openly on his own Facebook page, had hundreds of Facebook accounts he was selling. And he had it listed on a page where these guys sell these things, trying to sell my page.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh. The unruliness. Let me tell you, entrepreneurs out there, you future folks, don't count on the social media platforms of Meta, even X. Instagram's owned by Meta as well. So Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, they're owned by the Chinese. They're not going to help you. They allow criminals to openly operate on their platform, and they go after good law-abiding people that are just hardworking, trying to make a living. You got to do it. And one last point, it will flatline you. I was making money off my social medias, and all my e-commerce got shut down off my website. When these two things happened, it almost killed my business in 2023. It almost destroyed me. They almost came through, but it was resiliency that won out in the end.
There you go. Yeah, it's tough because in one regard, you're like, hey, maybe I'll just not be on there, right? So I don't have these issues. But I don't know that that's the answer because there's so much value that you could be giving the world. So you have to be on there because you can't just not be on there. So you just have to be
let evil win.
Yeah, you have to be super, super vigilant in all regards to kind of keep them in bay. So I got to ask you, where do you get all this energy from? You're trying to launch all these businesses, you go on these shows. Where's it all come from?
I wish I knew. I've been this way my whole life. I'm not like you would say hyperactive or anything. I think I've got a little bit ADHD going on because it's like I'm all over the place sometimes, but I'm just focused. I'm sucking the bone marrow out of life. I love living. I'm 58 years old, and I am living proof that if you have a dream in your life, you can obtain that dream in whatever way that looks for you. Did I make it as an A-list movie star? Not yet, but I've been on TV. It was a goal of mine. I told you from when I was very young, I wanted to be on TV. Well, I made it, but it became a different platform for me to get these messages out, like here on these podcasts about mindset, staying positive, overcoming challenges no matter what. I just don't know what I would do if I just didn't have things going on in my life because I like to stay busy. I like to get out, work out, hike. I got my dog I keep working with, but I had a successful military career of 25 years. I'm coming up on 20 years doing TV stuff, which is crazy. It'll be 2026, it'll be 20 years. I've been successful with my own business on the side, teaching survival and doing these other things. And now it's like I need a third career to close it up. So now I want to start a bunch of businesses, but more or less I'm doing them because they're passion projects I've had for a few years. But two, some of them I'm helping veterans. A lot of them I'm helping other veterans. And
That's
I'm partnering with other veterans to help them see their dreams come true. I'm just advising. I'm kind of in the background, but as a part owner for a lot of them, just trying to find the money to make all this stuff happen. And I've got them all in front of different people. But that's my new career for my kids. I want to leave a legacy for my kids to take over and do what they want with these companies and hopefully keep them going. But that's where this is at. And if I could bottle this up in a little bottle, man, woo,
there you go.
We'd all be wealthy.
You put it in the pickle juice, and then you just got to eat the pickles all day. You're good to go.
I might have to. I don't know. I just can't answer that question other than embrace life and live it to the fullest, because that's why you're here.
Yeah, it sounds like you are, and I think that's a great message to leave people off with. So I'm really interested to hear this, because we are the Midland Money Mindset, and we're all about joy on our show. We're all about joy. You could hear the joy in what you're doing every day coming out in your voice. So the question we ask each of our guests, the final question is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
I start every day. There was a little wise man said several things, but the one thing that stuck to me was, he said, go to bed with the birds and wake up with the birds, and you'll be way more successful because you're getting good rest, and the animals, they know. And so I got up in the morning, like I start every day, with the sun, and I pray and I meditate and I say my little mantras and my affirmations to make sure I set the day. And my dog was out there with me, and he's out there, my best friend. And that really sets my tone for the day, because I know everything else will be okay, because I've started off and it's just smoking good, because it's like,
amazing.
Today, great things are going to come my way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I accept this with an open heart and a grateful spirit. No harm to self, no harm to others. God, thank you. Amen.
Amazing.
That's how I end it all. And here I am on my day.
Thanks for sharing that, EJ. And listen, I really appreciate you coming on. We're going to have all of your information, how people can contact you, in our show notes. But really quick, if people want to learn more about you, connect with you, maybe fund the pickle business, who knows?
Come on.
If they want to touch base with you, what's the easiest and best way for them to reach out to you?
Just go to ejsnyder.com. That's www.ejsny, like the pretzel, der.com. And all my social media links are up on the top. Our website's being relaunched on March 12th, so it's going to look a little different. So you go in there now, you can still find me, but we're cleaning it up. It's going to be amazing. So I'm really excited for that new website at ejsnyder.com. All my social media links, most of them, Twitter, which is now X, Instagram, and TikTok, you can go to @EJSnyder333 and find me there. And for Facebook, it's EJ Snyder, blue check, 218,000 followers. Follow me there. Don't go to my personal page. I don't check in there. And then lastly, with my YouTube channel, it is Survive with EJ. If you go to any of those places, that's where you'll be able to get a hold of me, find me, and see everything going on, because I'm the king of the 1-minute tips, tricks, and hacks for survival stuff.
Great. Well, everybody, go check them out. I appreciate you spending your time with us, EJ. It's been a pleasure. Great conversation, and enjoy the rest of your day.
And tune in to Naked Afraid for new episodes. And look, you might see this guy again soon for his 7th challenge.
There you go.
I want to thank EJ Snyder for being a guest on the Midland Money Mindset. We would like to recognize the sacrifices that EJ has endured for our country and thank him for his service, as we greatly appreciate what he has done for this country. It is also amazing to see how EJ has taken the skills that he developed and learned over his Army combat career and is utilizing them to grow his following and influence within the survival community. EJ is a true inspiration in so many ways. EJ Snyder and all that he's up to can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find him can be found in the show notes. Thank you for joining us this week on the Midland Money Mindset. Make sure you visit our website at midlandmoneymindset.com and smash the subscribe button so you don't miss a show. We encourage you to help others find our valuable content, and please don't keep us a secret. You can also schedule an Is There a Fit call right from our website or by using the link that you'll find in the description section of your podcast player or app. And be sure to join us for our next episode to learn more about getting your mind right when it comes to all things money.
The opinions voiced in the Mitlin Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Guests on the Mitlin Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.